all to this meeting of the Taxi and General Licensing Committee on the 2nd of October 2024. Begin by reading the evacuation procedure. I'm sure you all know what to do. There is a location plan of the exits and the assembly points situated on the doors of this room. Please familiarise yourself with it. Discovering a fire, please carry out the following: sound the alarm, tackle the fire if possible, and so to do so using the appliances provided. On hearing the evacuation signal, please carry out the following: exit the building by your nearest and safest exit. I think you know where they are. All visitors report to Assembly Point G or staff report to their designated assembly point on War Pathway Car Park. Do not leave the assembly point for any reason told to do so by the incident control or fire brigade officer. Apologies for absence from members away on official business. I've got Councillor Taylor's apologies with Councillor Dervitt's substituting as welcome. Councillor Dervitt's. Are there any other apologies? Okay. So we'll note Councillor Taylor's apologies.
Chairman, sorry. Is somebody from the Labour substitute? I may have missed it. Is somebody subbing for Councillor Farrow?
No.
Because I think she said she was on this committee and wasn't able to make it.
No, I've had no apologies.
She had
I've had no apologies for it.
We haven't received those.
I thought she said I saw her at the meeting this afternoon.
Yeah, we've had really late apologies. She's got a situation.
Yes, exactly. That's why I wanted to.
But there is no substitute. Yes.
Oh, well, it's just I just said I'd mention it.
Thank you, Councillor.
Give her apologies now then.
Thank you, Councillor Farrow. Disclosable and non-pecuniary, pecuniary and non-pecuniary interest. Does anyone have any to declare? No? Okay. Agenda item 4 is public participation, but we don't appear to have anyone in the public gallery. Agenda item 5, the minutes of the meeting, last meeting was on the 30th of January 2024, so some months ago. We've got a copy of the minutes in front of us. Does anyone have any points they wish to raise from either page 1 or page 2 of those minutes? No? And
Move on.
thank you. All in favour? Thank you. Happily sign those. Agenda item 4 is the Local Government Miscellaneous Provisions Act. Oh, sorry, I'm looking at the wrong thing. Agenda item 6. The adoption of the practicing and licensing policy and consultation on payment licensing policy. Now we've got one report in front of us, but it seems to me that those are two separate reports. So what I propose we do is, we'll take the report as it is, but when it comes to voting on the recommendations, we'll have two separate votes. Which, hopefully we'll be in agreement, but it's possible we could agree on one but not the other. So if you're agreement, I'll just pass this over to Sharon to talk us through the report, and we'll take any questions.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you. So our first report, apologies, I should have split this into two reports, but it's one report. So the first one is that the committee agrees to adopt the Hackney Carriage and Private Hire Licensing Policy, which went out for consultation on the 1st of February and then up until the 3rd of May. So we want your agreement to implement that policy. And then the second policy we're looking at is a consultation on the pavement licence policy. Do you want any more information about the two policies?
Okay, if you take
We'll take questions, obviously.
If we take the first part first on the Hackney Carriage and licensing policy, we'll take any questions or comments on that. So I can see Councillor Dervitt is very eager to.
Yeah, I'd just like to know what were the results of the consultation. Were there many replies to it, and were there any changes made during the consultation, or as a result of?
Thank you, Councillor Davis. Chair, if I may. We had two. We didn't have. It wasn't a consultation response as such. We had two. I would describe them as comments. Dave. So if we just ask Dave to elaborate on those.
With comments from two licensed drivers Nothing in relation to the policy, but their concerns were having a wage increase. So, obviously, they're employed by taxi officers and not by us. So my response was obviously take that to your employer.
Could you just put your microphone on?
Sorry. Yeah, the
Thanks, Dave.
main response was in relation to wages and earnings of the drivers rather than the policy themselves.
Thank you, Dave. Councillor Waffles.
Sorry, Dave, could you just expand a little bit on what the problem was with the increase? Sorry, I might have missed that.
Yeah, their main concern was the fact that they believe that the wages should be higher. There's nothing in relation to the policy that any concerns in the emails that we received, it was just relating to their pay, which is obviously outside of our remit.
Thank you, Dave. Any more questions or comments for the officers? No? Okay. In that case, Sharon, would you like to say anything on the consultation on the pavement licensing?
Yeah, we want to take this out to consultation. When, obviously during COVID, the government brought in the Business and Planning Act in order to help hospitality businesses to survive, really, by they could put tables and chairs out on the pavement. So we were responsible then for the issue of pavement licences, but any enforcement of any pavement licence action was the responsibility still of County Council. So what's happened now is they've brought in a new act which makes us, as the local authority, responsible for the issue of the licence and the enforcement of any contraventions or non-appliance of licences if they put tables and chairs out. And that's the difference. So we've got to consult on this now.
Thank you, Sharon. Let's say, as a dog owner, it's sometimes useful to be able to sit outside a cafe. It's nice that we see more tables out on the pavement. Do we know how many businesses have got to establish license? I assume now under the Highways Act by the County Council. Do we know how many businesses are currently in that position where we've got tables outside, or is it something we won't know until we start licensing ourselves?
We have under the Highways Act. I don't believe, Dave may correct me, that we have got any. I think County Council considered North Warwickshire not suitable for pavement licence or cafe licences due to the width of pavements and things like that. So, Dave, I don't think we have any under the Highways Act. So, under the Pavement Licensing Act, we now licence 5 premises.
5.
Yeah, we now licence 5 in Addiston.
Thank you. Does anyone have any questions or comments? Councillor Alexi.
Yeah, I'd just like to say I think it is time that we do have this policy up to date to make sure that we can manage the situation properly. Pavement culture has grown a lot, and it's important that we look after all sections of the community. It's good that the businesses get the use of that space, but we have to make sure that people with children's buggies, disabled chairs, all that sort of thing are protected as well. It was interesting reading it that the recommended minimum pavement width is 2 metres. That's very difficult in a lot of areas in Addiston, but it says that it can be reduced to 1.5 metres under certain circumstances. That is still difficult in some places, but I believe that this policy will give us the way to manage them and to be fair to residents and the businesses. So I think it's really important that we do go out to consultation as soon as we can.
So Councillor Jarvis first and then Councillor Bates.
actually. I think very much the same as Councillor Derby's. We've got to be aware that these are shared areas and that the sharing is done appropriately in line with both sides of the access and whatever. And also that overall of the premises that apply for them, they're done uniformly, and any that do it without the authorisation are acted on accordingly. Because the first one that does, everybody else will be saying, well, they did it, why can't we? And are you able to say which the 5 are that are licensed? Or is that
Off the top of my head, Wheatsheaf, Long Street, Artigiano's Long Street, the wine bar. The Angel did apply, but they were temporarily using land that belonged to Roxborough Council, so Town Council, Market Tavern. And there's a premises in Coleshill, but I apologise if it's off the top of my head. I can't remember.
Thank you. Councillor Bates.
Thank you. So this policy is for hospitality, so restaurants and bars, etc. So what happens, is there another policy for shops that want to put goods out on the pavement? Or is it, because you do sometimes get some of the shops that want to put their wares out on the pavement? What happens for those businesses?
Chair, if I may, we haven't got a policy for retail. It really is just for the hospitality industry as a result of COVID and then continuing on from there, and previously through the Highways Act. There's nothing for retail.
So they're allowed to do it without.
There's nothing to
application.
stop them doing it as long as they're doing it safely. And as long as they're not obstructing the highway.
Would they not need to apply under the Highways Act for that?
To be honest, Chair, I'm not sure about that, but I can certainly find out.
Thank you. It'd be useful if you could let us all know.
Yes.
Councillor Osborne, I think also Councillor Derby wants to come back in first, didn't you?
At some point.
Yeah, well, you did. I did see Councillor Derby just before. Councillor
Okay.
Osborne, okay.
I'd just like to make the point that it is very important that we have a set of standards that can be applied across. And a really good illustration of this is that I spent 4 nights with somebody in a fully accessible flat last week, and couldn't turn a wheelchair around in it, but it was labelled as being fully accessible. What this should give us is the ability to say that is the standard. If you're not meeting that, then we can do something about it. And I think that it is of most value that it sets that standard that we can actually try to enforce as well. Yeah. And I agree wholeheartedly with what Councillor Bates has just said about retail businesses. We ought to try and find out whether we can standardise across all businesses in our high streets, because whether it's a table or a pile of buckets, it's still an obstruction. For example.
Good point, Councillor Derby. So, Councillor Osborne.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. Yeah, I mean, what we're doing this piece of work, it does seem to make sense that we would look at things that are abutted to the shop fronts, things like A-boards. You do sometimes get people who are visibly impaired. If the A-boards are moving, or they've moved a shop display where it's not usually, to have that come under this umbrella would seem an opportune moment while we're doing this consultation. All of that stuff, to me, for the public and the shopkeepers, because, you know, we need to be fair to them as well. They're here to trade, they're here to make money. We want to all encourage that. Then that piece of work can be done at the same time.
Councillor Stewart.
Thank you, Chair. I think following on from Councillor Osborne's point, and also relating to the point that Councillor Jarvis made, I think a general point about consultations is that we've seen that consultations don't normally get a massive response. But I think the consultation here provides a very, very good opportunity, not only for those hospitality places that are planning to take use of this, to make them fully aware that actually this is for you, and also don't do it without. There's a real education point that can come from the consultation. I don't necessarily agree or concur, because I worry about the delay. Should we try and append a second or augment this particular policy to make it wider? I think there's the opportunity to have parallel policy, but there is the opportunity of using this consultation to engage with other retail premises to say, would you find something else suitable when we're fully informed around that. I also want to make a slightly different point, because obviously this is going to be more affecting those areas with significant high streets. But just to make a general point, because I'm not sure where else we'd actually make it, but pavements, although they might be of a certain distance, often in more rural areas, are actually finding that the level of pavement that's actually accessible, following on from some other points, is curtailed by growth out from properties and walls and so on. It's a significant issue for us. I think it needs to be possibly included in terms of maintenance of the actual properties and of the land, to make sure that there isn't encroachment that's reducing that distance as well, and what's a nominal distance and an actual distance is taken into consideration as well.
Okay, more about those comments.
Sorry to keep on
Councillor
coming back, because no, I'm not supposed to, but it was coming back on the A board situation. While I was county councillor, while I was county councillor, we had a big problem with A boards along Long Street, and the county was responsible for it at that time, and we sent out letters to all the shop owners and insisted that the A boards were put where the bollards are. That didn't last for long. They soon changed and they put them all over the place. But it would seem that that would be something that would be quite easy to add into a pavement policy. Not necessarily this one, but if we had a general pavement policy, I think that might be something that would be useful to add in, so that you're having some sort of control over where most of the obstacles that shops are likely to put in the way of pedestrians are put out in such a way that it is easier for people to navigate pavements.
Councillor Fowler first, and then Councillor Jarvis.
Thank you, Chair. I would certainly support the comments that have been made from members across the board when I've talked about stands outside shops for the same reason, disability, impairment of eyes, and certainly with the A boards. I think one of the difficulties that we have with A boards that some people will apply for a license to put A boards out, but I do find, I've seen it in Coleshill as well, where people actually have got something they want to advertise and then just go ahead and stick an A board out, and they don't appreciate the consequences of where they stick them. And I'm just curious to know of Councillor Dervick's, yes, I do recall it being mentioned a number of occasions at the county council. So yes, it would be interesting to see how we handle not only people who actually apply for an A board to be stuck out, but we also have that difficulty of people that just then stick one out because they're advertising something that they just simply thought of. And yeah, and I have seen them in proper locations where it is a bit concerning. Thank you.
Just as a clarification, I'm not suggesting that they're licensed, but that we have a policy as to where they should go.
That's what I'm saying.
Take Councillor Jarvis first, and then Councillor Clues.
Okay, thanks, Chair.
Councillor Jarvis.
I was just going to say Councillor Clues was before me, but two issues. First, where there's an incursion of, say, hedges, as Councillor Dervick's alluded to. Sorry?
Wasn't me, but I agree with
Oh,
you.
yeah, okay. It was Councillor Stewart then, but You both look the same from over here from me.
I'll give you a comb over. You need
But, I've got two issues with where hedges are encroaching over footpaths. And I've got both of those with county council at the moment. That you can report it to that, and the locality officer does take that into account and gets the private properties to trim back the where they're encroaching over the highway. The second one is A-boards. It's been a pain in the backside from day one, that is. And just thinking a little bit while we're here, just looking at our Long Street in Atherstone, we've got all of the bollards, and as Councillor Dervick said, there was encouraged to put the A-boards by the bollards. Why don't we allow them to put the sleeves over the bollards and approach it more that way? Because it's not encroaching anyway, it's just using the bollard for these cardboard sleeves. If they wish to put it outside, whether that could be a compromise, that you haven't got an A-board, but you've got something there that's more under control.
I think we're touching on a few things here that are either county highways and planning issues as well as licensing, but in drawing all this together, maybe work together. Councillor Clues, I apologise, I missed you.
Waiting very patiently.
So
Yeah, one thing I'm surprised about is when Sharon said about encroaching onto the pavement and there was no allowance, or wasn't one, because I can remember when we was on town council, I'm sure Councillor Jarvis will remember, when we had several complaints, they took them to town council as they normally do. And we passed them on to the borough, where one shop was really encroaching and it was taking up at least 2/3 of the pavement. And it wasn't Sharon at the time and it wasn't David, but we was told through borough council to town council that there was a permitted, what was it,
There had to be a minimum of 1.5 metres of clear pavement.
yeah, and that did come from whoever the licensing or environmental officer was at the time. So I'm surprised that there isn't still that. And going back to the bollards, when we had a problem in town, I actually walked around with an officer from county, I can't remember her name now, looking at all the bollards, Jane Pritchard, looking at all the bollards and that. And one thing she was definitely against was either putting an A-board over a bollard or wrapping anything round it. Because she said, I remember the incident round in East with Councillor Clue, she said, where a car hit the A-board, thinking there was hitting an A-board, and there wasn't, they hit a bollard underneath. So she said it's the worst thing that can ever happen. Put a bollard or put a wrap around a bollard, because it isn't a bollard to a vehicle or to somebody in a mobility scooter or something then. Thanks, Chair.
thanks, Councillor Clues. Councillor Wattles next, but just say we are the licensing committee, we are looking at the areas that we can legally license, aren't we, in terms of and if it's a county highways issue, it's not going to be controlled by licensing, as I understand it. But Councillor Wattles.
That was a beautiful introduction to what I was going to say, actually, Councillor Jones, because I was just going to make the point that, you know, there's various areas, so parking springs to mind, so there may be some conflict. If you're starting to say it's okay to encroach here for this, buckets or whatever it might be, or tables or whatever, then you're going to have the counter argument of, I can't park my car there, but you're arguing one against the other. I mean, I'm not being the angel of death or anything, I'm just saying that, you know, I think that there might be some counter arguments, so just to bear that in mind really, and I know that some of that is out of our control, which was beautifully brought in there, Councillor Jones, and I think it's just worth thinking about when we're looking at, you know, the art and the possible, because we may face some conflict saying, well, you do it for them, but why can't you do it for them? Just putting it out there. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Wattles. Does anyone else wish to comment? Ask a question? No? There's been some very useful and well-thought-out comments, so thank you for that. If there are no other comments, we'll come to the vote, and as I said, I'm going to take it as two separate votes. So the first recommendation is that the committee agrees to adopt the Hackney carriage and private hire licensing policy. I'll move that from the chair, actually. Is it, do we have the seconder? No, councillor Jarvis, and all in favour? It appears to be unanimous, but just for the record, is anyone against? No. Second recommendation is that the committee agrees to a consultation to introduce a pavement licensing policy. I think moved by councillor Stewart, seconded by councillor Jarvis. All in favour? Thank you. That's both recommendations.